In this video, we're going to look at how to identify the different blood cells, both the models of the blood cells as well as how to identify the different blood cells on a microscope slide. When you first look at a microscope slide, you're going to see all sorts of different cells. Most of these cells are going to be red blood cells, all these little red blobs right here. And then you will see different types of white blood cells kind of scattered within those. So on this slide right here, you can see that there are 3 different types of white blood cells. So we're going to go through the different characteristics of the white blood cells and how to tell each of them apart so you know what you're looking at under your microscope slide. Again, red blood cells pretty easy to pick out. Here obviously is our red blood cell model. This is our platelet model or our thrombocyte model, showing some of those fibrin threads and a bunch of platelets kind of caught in that forming a clot. On the slide, these little dots right here are going to be our platelets. We don't get a really good view of the platelets at the magnifications that we can go up to. When you're identifying white blood cells, you want to look at a couple things. The first thing you want to see is, can you see if it has granules? If it does have granules, then you know it's a granulocyte and it's going to end in "phil." So our neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils. And if it does have granules, you're going to look at the color and the size of those granules. If it does not have granules, then you are looking at an agranulocyte, and it's going to end in "cyte." So our leukocytes and our monocytes are going to be our agranulocytes. Once you can figure out if it has granules or not, then you're going to ask yourself, what does the nucleus look like? What is the shape and size of the nucleus? And then some of the types have very distinct cytoplasm as well that you can look at. So the first one we're going to look at is our neutrophils. We'll just go through in order of that mnemonic from most abundant to least abundant. So we'll start with our neutrophils. Neutrophils, again, are going to have very, very small red granules. So in these slides over here, a bunch of different slides that I've taken, and you can see that you can't see, they're not very large dots, but you can see that the cytoplasm looks kind of grainy. Okay, on this lower magnification, you can't see the granules as well. So in that case, you need to look at the nucleus. And here, again, you can see that the nucleus has about 3, this one has 3 lobes to it. It can have up to 6 lobes to it. So this one's got a lot of lobes. This one just has 4. This one's like an upside down smiley face. So you want to look at the shape of the nucleus and see how many lobes it has. Again, neutrophils are our most common white blood cells, so you will see a lot of these on the microscope slides that we'll be looking at. Next type is our lymphocytes. Lymphocytes do not have granules. These are pretty easy to pick out because they have that very, very large spherical nucleus and a little rim of blue cytoplasm around it. So here you can see the big nucleus and the little rim of cytoplasm. So you can see that in each of these examples. You'll also notice on these examples that the colors might not be exactly what we say, depending on how old the slide is, how well these cells took up the dye. They might vary a little bit. So again, you just have to go by the shape of the nucleus and the fact that there's just a little rim of cytoplasm around it. Not all of them are going to have that perfect light blue around it. Next one is our monocytes, our other agranulocyte, so no granules, so the cytoplasm is going to look pretty smooth. Nucleus here is going to be kidney or U-shaped. And again, that light blue cytoplasm. So here are some examples of different monocytes. Eosinophils are our next one. These are going to have very large red granules and a bilobed nucleus. So the granules are going to make the cytoplasm look a pinkish color, and the nucleus is going to be a purplish color. This is the one that's going to have the 2 lobes to the nucleus, and I've had students say it reminds them of an alien. It looks like they're wearing sunglasses, looks like earmuffs. So whatever you need to remember, that the eosinophil has that bilobed nucleus and the tons of very large red granules. Last one is our basophils. These are our least abundant, very, very rare to find one of these on the slides that we have because they are so rare. These are very distinctive because they've got the dark purple, sometimes even looking blackish granules, and then that U or S-shaped nucleus. A lot of times when you're looking at the picture or the slide, you won't really be able to see the shape of the nucleus too well because those granules are so dark. So this one, if you look really carefully, it kind of looks like an S-shaped nucleus, but again, through those granules, it's pretty hard to tell the exact shape. So on this slide right here, just a bunch of different microscope views. So again, when you first put a slide on the microscope, it's just going to look like a lot of teeny tiny red dots, and then you're going to have to go up 1 or 2 magnifications to get it to look like this. Again, mostly red blood cells, and then you have to, again, go through those steps to try and identify what these cells might be. So over here, they're pretty obvious what they are. These two are going to be neutrophils because they've got those multi-lobed nuclei. This one's going to be a basophil because it's got the really, really dark granules, can barely see the shape of the nucleus underneath it. This one I would call a lymphocyte because it's got the big nucleus with a little bit of cytoplasm around it. You could argue that this could be a monocyte because the nucleus is a little bit curved here, and I wouldn't argue with that on that one. And this one here is definitely an eosinophil because you've got the red granules and the bilobed nucleus here. So you can pause the video and look at the rest of these and see if you can identify the different types of blood cells. And we'll be looking at a bunch of blood cells in class later next week.